The House will now have under consideration Senate Bill 1254. Good lady from District 9.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to ask for unanimous consent to dispense with further reading of Senate Bill 1254.
You've all heard the unanimous consent request. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the lady has the floor to begin the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good members of the House, this is the bill that you've all been hearing about and waiting on, so we'll try to go through it quickly. On your desk, you have a packet of information from me, and the first page is the Constitution of the State of Idaho. And Mr. Speaker, if I might have permission to read. Oh, you don't have it? Excuse me, Mr. Speaker. Apparently it's being passed out, I hope, somewhere.
I think it's being distributed as we speak. We do have this one, however.
But that's not mine. That's the lady from
That's
Levin's.
not it. Okay.
All right. Well, when your packet gets here, you'll, oh yeah, some of you have it. May I have permission to read from the Constitution?
The lady always has permission to read from the state's Constitution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So this is Article 1, Section 11 that we hear so much about, but seldom do all of us read it. And I might quote, "The right to keep and bear arms. The people have the right to keep and bear arms, which right shall not be abridged. But this provision shall not prevent the passage of laws to govern the carrying of weapons concealed on a person." So those are the important parts in our Constitution to keep in mind. Which means the legislature can regulate carry conceal licenses, but not open carry unless we change our Constitution. This bill does not change our Constitution, does not do anything with open carry at this time. It does set restrictions on weapons on the campus. So you know that as the legislature, we did a few years ago say we're going to occupy the entire field of firearms, but we left an exception for the colleges. And we waited to see what they would do. And they really didn't do anything except restrict a person's right to have a concealed weapon or an open, it's against their policy to have an open carry as well. So in 1833-02C, we did restrict certain conducts with a carry conceal or an open. That is in a courthouse, a juvenile detention facility, a jail, a public or a private school. And Idaho Code 1833-02D, we say a school is a private or public elementary or secondary school. And again, we allowed for exceptions to that. We said it is unlawful to possess on the property of a school or portions of that building being used for a school except for a peace officer, if someone lawfully possesses into part of the facility that is approved, if someone is using their weapon for self-protection or to protect another, they also can use their weapon inside that school. Anyone 18 years old, not enrolled in the school, who has a lawfully possessed firearm secured and locked in their vehicle in a non-threatening manner is allowed. A person possessing lawfully in their private vehicle while delivering students or employees to or from that school or activity. Person or employee of the district authorized by the board to carry their weapon. And my own school did that after Sandy Hook. So now if you can look at the bill, and we'll go through a little bit of it. So we go through the intent part regarding the college campuses. This is to provide for the safety of the students, the staff, and the visitors using our new enhanced carry conceal license. We passed that last year, and you probably will remember what those restrictions are. You must be 21 years or older. You must have a certificate of completion of qualifying handgun course that is at least 8 hours in length. That must be taught face-to-face, nothing over the internet. It also includes a portion about Idaho law relating to firearms and the use of deadly force and what that means and how you use it appropriately. The classes also talk about self-defense principles, gun safety, what to do when law enforcement does arrive to help you. And then you go out onto the range and you have live fire for at least 98 rounds. Now, when folks go to buy a gun, as most of you well know, you do not buy a firearm, take a class, and then put it away. You continue to practice with it. This is for your self-protection, and you know the more you practice, the better you are. This enhanced carry conceal is issued by your sheriff, your county sheriff where you reside. Before you can do that, you're background checked, fingerprinted. The sheriff then sends that off to ISP, who in turn sends it to the FBI's Instant Criminal Background Check System. In 2010, the legislature authorized ISP to send all current and past disqualifying mental health records to the FBI database. And we were one of the first states that actually completed that. So on the campus, besides the enhanced carry conceal license holders, we also are authorizing retired law enforcement to be able to carry there. And that is 183302H. So the exceptions. We worked with the universities on exceptions, although there has been reports that they weren't invited to the table at all and were not ever talked with. So we definitely kept them out of the student dorms. Most people that are 21 or over are not going to be in the dorms. No public entertainment facility owned or operated by the college with a seating capacity of over 1,000 people, and that was at the request of the colleges. It was lowered from 2,500. The colleges still retain the ability to authorize the carry of firearms in any of their buildings. And persons legally possessing firearms in their private vehicle can still deliver a person to and from the college or the public entertainment facility under this bill. Again, another exception is on-duty and off-duty law enforcement officers are able to do their jobs on the university when necessary. If you will look at the first page of the bill, you'll see there is an enhanced penalty. This is under the drugs and alcohol, carrying a concealed weapon while you're under the influence. And I'm sure most of you are in total agreement that we need enhanced penalties for any kind of that foolish behavior. So the person who is found guilty or enters a guilty plea will have their license immediately revoked for a period of at least 3 years, and they will not be eligible to obtain or renew such a license that is recognized by this state for that same length of time. So they could not go to another state that we recognize and get a concealed weapons permit and then come back. And that's, I think, a major step in safety. On page 4, lines 10 through 18 provides immunity for the colleges. No civil action damage against the college or its boards if there is a claim arisen due to the college policy to allow or to not prohibit the lawful possession and storage of firearms on the property. Now in your packet there are also some letters of support One is from the Fraternal Order of Police. They did a survey last year of 15,000 law enforcement officers. And of those that responded, 70% are first responders. Those are the folks that are called after the incident happens. 90% of the responders believe casualties are decreased if armed citizens are present at the onset where there is an active shooter. Seconds count when that happens. Minutes are far, far too long. Even 2 minutes are too long. And that's why we have the support of the Fraternal Order of Police, the Idaho Sheriff's Association, and the NRA, who has a mission of making sure all of us are assured in the right to keep and bear arms and protect your life and your property. I would like to relinquish the rest of my opening debate to the lady from 11.
Will the lady from District 11 yield?
Yes, Mr. Speaker,
Lady
I
has the
yield.
floor to continue the opening debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, members of the body, for being so willing to listen to what is really going to be a very important debate today. I'd like to begin by presenting you some information regarding safety and security, since much of the discussion in the public realm has actually been regarding those issues. So you have been given a handout. It actually has a couple boxes on it with blue and red lines, because I know there's several things floating around out there. And this handout actually depicts a comparison between our neighbor, the state of Utah, and the state of Idaho regarding gun policies and crime rates on college campuses. So if you'd like to pull that out and take a look at it, you will note in the top box that it is demonstrating the crime rate on Utah's 3 largest public university campuses. The blue lines represent the crime rate before the restriction of concealed carry firearms was removed, which occurred in 2007. The red bars demonstrate the amount of crime after the allowance of concealed firearms on campus. What is noteworthy here is not that the crime rate went down, which it did, but that the crime rate did not go up when firearms were introduced onto the campus. The presence of firearms by law-abiding citizens has never been proven to cause crime rates to go up. The bottom box demonstrates violent crime from 2007 after firearms were introduced on Utah campuses until 2012. And it compares it to the violent crime on Idaho campuses for the same time period. You will notice that Utah campuses have a lower rate of crime, especially regarding forcible rape. So why is this really so important? It disputes the argument that possession of firearms by law-abiding citizens who have followed all the laws contribute to violent crime rates. They don't. Law-abiding citizens do just that. They abide by the law. They're not criminals, and as such, there is no good reason for anyone to restrict their rights. And I am one of those people. I would share a story with you. Some of you have heard this before, and many of you probably have not, but I'm actually a graduate of Boise State University. I graduated in 2011. I spent 6 years going to school straight in a row. And so I went there, but many of the classes that I took actually had to be taken at night to work around my schedule. Parking was extremely difficult and in short supply over there, and you often had to park 5-6 blocks away off of the campus. So I'm there at night, not a very big person, walking in the dark, and I had to walk to campus. There's no security that takes you there. You're on your own. And by the rules, they wanted me to put my gun in the bushes when I got to the campus, walk across campus to my classes, which, by the way, it's a very large campus, if you haven't noticed, and then I'm supposed to pick it up on the way back. And that doesn't work. If I had trouble in between, who helps me? There's not armed security at Boise State. I was told that they had some blue light security posts there, and they are there. But where they're at, I couldn't tell you, and I certainly couldn't tell you if I was desperate. And that really is an issue. And security on college campuses in Idaho is an issue in itself. Unarmed guards don't do a whole lot, and they certainly don't help me when I'm walking to and from. And believe it or not, crime does happen. It happens on our campuses. It happens on our streets. and people are and do need the ability to be able to protect themselves. And so part of what concerns me here is that the universities do express some concern over the cost of security should the bill pass, and they make statements which lead people to believe that there currently are no guns on campus. That's the statement I hear. It's almost as if we don't have any guns on campus, and if you pass this law, suddenly we'll be flooded. But I'm going to tell you from firsthand experience, there are guns on campus, and it's foolish to think otherwise. And if there is no security on those campuses because they don't believe there's any guns on them, then that's foolish thinking, because they are there. And who has them is probably really what's important here. Is it law-abiding citizens? Is it other people who aren't? You have to really be cognizant and aware of what is going on there. So security is an issue. Now, one other thing I'd like to ask you to do is you have received another handout from Idaho Carry Open and Concealed. Now, that is a letter that has been, it's a white paper by them that have been submitted. And what they did was they supplied me actually with the entire call log for the Boise Police Department in that district. If you end up wanting to have a copy of it, I'm sure we can get that copy for you. I didn't supply the log because it's very thick, but if you want to take a look at it, no problem. So what they've done, though, is they have summarized the information there for you. And what they summarized was that the actual response times, and not just to the university, but in that district, are 5 minutes and 49 seconds. But even if we were to assume that's how long it takes you to get to the university, it's a huge campus. That doesn't include the amount of time it would actually take you to get to the scene of an incident. They'd have to find me somewhere walking in between the parking garages and down the roads and down the blocks, or they'd have to find me somewhere on campus in the dark. And trust me, it's dark. I know, I've been there. So the other thing I want to let you know, too, is Idaho's a great state. We know that. We know that we have some of the lowest crime rates in the nation. But our crime rate isn't zero. So we have crime here. It's a fact of life that we have to live with. There's the way that things should be, but then there's the way that they really are. And it's the way that they are what we actually have to deal with here. So let me give you one more story before we open this debate. Most of you know that I do carry a gun with me. And there was one morning, this was many years ago, I've carried my gun for a long time, and I don't ever want to pull it out. I don't ever want to use it. I don't ever want anyone else to have to do that, but sometimes you have to be prepared. So what happened was I was actually driving. It was really early in the morning. It was about 5 o'clock in the morning. It was pitch black, and I was following a person, and they were acting very erratically, and they would slam on their brakes, and I went, oh. So I'm not sure if he's drunk or hungover or what the problem is, but I kind of back off. But then he would still do it even when I wasn't near him. And I'm thinking, this is strange. So I know when I come up to the road that I can pass. I know the area on the road that I can pass because I was on a very familiar road. So I go and I begin to pass this person, and this person ran me off the road. I was in passing mode. They ran me off the road, and I went down into the borrow pit at a high speed. Scared me to death. Anyway, just to be run off the road because it was deliberate. I mean, they ran me right off. And I'm shaken, and I'm looking for my phone, and I look up because I'm going to call the police to come help me. I look up, and that person had put their car in reverse, and they were coming back. I'm all by myself. It was 5 o'clock in the morning. You ran me off into the borrow pit after you already had this erratic behavior. I don't understand what in the world's going on, and now I'm scared. I mean, that's it. You're scared. My instinct was, I'm trying to fumble for my phone. I grabbed my gun. The person, it's the only time I have ever grabbed my gun. The person came back. I held my gun up in the window, and they had come back so they could actually see it. And when they looked at it, they took off at a high speed. I didn't have to do anything else. I called the police. I did get a license plate number, and of course I called my husband, and I'm scared to death. It's a terrible feeling, and I was fortunate that nothing really happened to me other than being run off in the borrow pit. But I was still extremely scared to even be put in that position. So I hope we're not looking at this and saying that everybody that carries a gun is a bad person, and everybody that carries a gun on a college campus is going to do something bad, because that's not true. You know, we have to be really realistic about the things that we're going to be talking about today. So And bad things happen to good people all the time. It's about being prepared, and it's about having the right to be prepared no matter where I'm at, whether I'm on a road, whether I'm on a college campus, whether I'm in the Capitol building here. It's my right to be able to defend myself regardless of where I'm going to be. So, ladies and gentlemen, today, please listen to the debate this afternoon, give it your due diligence, and then please vote to allow the law-abiding citizens to defend themselves, regardless of where they're going to be. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I believe the debate is open.